Hey guys, Kirk from Forever Homestead. So we are in the last week of June. The next 2 weeks are gonna be pretty. I don't know if monotonous is the right word. As far as video goes, there's probably not going to be a whole lot. So the next video will probably be 2 weeks from this one, and that's only because we are basically going to spend 2 weeks. We have from now, which is I think the 25th of June, until the 7th of July to get all the timbers, all the joinery done on the timbers that are actually going to be for the inside of the house. So I think it's almost 30 of them or something like that. It's a big number. So a lot of tenons, mortises, I've done some videos on that, and I'm not going to bore you with all of it. I'll have some video here and there, and I'm also going to try to get some video of just some everyday stuff that we're doing. Yesterday was Sunday, and our sawyer came out. So I had Joe, who was my father-in-law, and Ned, who's the sawyer. He brought his mill out yesterday, and we had a day of milling. And there's not a whole lot of footage of it. I just got a little clip on my phone, but it was pretty fast-paced. We put Ned on the mill since he knows what he's doing. And my father-in-law was on the bobcat, like the skid steer, and then I was schlepping. So as Ned, cut the squared up one side of the timber, I would pull that scrap off and set it on a skid. Once the whole beam was done, or once the whole timber was done, Joe would grab it with the bobcat and we'd move it. We put a bunch of them on the trailer there. So that's, I think, 11 of them right there for one of the bents at the front of the house. And then there's some more there, and there's some more back by the house. We kind of have them strategically placed at different places on the property, so I can work on them in some places. Like we have 4 of them up at the house that don't actually require any joinery. They're more or less, they go into the basement, and they're just kind of fastened there with just some mechanical fasteners, because they're just there to carry the load from the timber frame up above down into the basement. We put all of the scrap, like I said, I was pulling the scrap off and putting it onto skids, and then because with the bobcat here, it's easy for Joe just to get the forks in there and pile it all up. We're not sure what we're going to do with this stuff yet. I mean, some of it is scrap and it'll just be cut up into firewood, but some of it still has quite a bit of meat on it. If you look at a piece like that, I'll be able to take the chainsaw out, I think, the chain mortiser, and clean some of these up and use it for different projects. We do have an idea to use some of the rounds as kind of a railing around the bunkie that we're building, but it's a project for another time. It won't be anytime soon. What we did tell Ned, or what we did ask Ned, is when he was milling, if he was trying to cut, let's say, an 8x8 or something out of a post, instead of just going right down to that 8-inch mark or something like that, we asked him to kind of go 1-inch increments down to it, and then we put all that lumber on a skid here. I stickered it all so the air can flow through it. I'll put a tarp over it once we're done. And then I'm just going to let that dry, because I think then I can process it. I can run it through a thickness planer. I've got a tongue and groove set that I could cut some grooves on it. It won't be good for floors really, because it's a pretty soft wood. But as far as like tongue and groove for a wall or a ceiling or something like that, I think it'll be good for that. I know there's going to be a lot of you out there that mock me for this, but I think if homesteading or farming or anything like that was a video game, the final beast at the end of all levels that you have to conquer and be able to do efficiently would be backing up a farm trailer. I know it's ridiculous. I can back up a trailer. I have no problems backing up a trailer. I'm actually pretty good at it. But a farm trailer, I think farmers actually invented these just to be able to mock people that aren't farmers. So for those of you that aren't aware, so on most trailers, there's a pivot point where the trailer connects to the vehicle, in this case, the tractor. But then on farm trailers, they actually pivot back here as well. So there's 2 pivot points. So the wheels turn and this pivots. And I don't know, I think maybe it's to get around sharp corners and stuff like that. But I'm not 100% sure of the purpose of it, except to really drive me crazy. I had to move the trailer from up by that evergreen tree there, down and back it up in front of the barn here. And it took me, I bet, over 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to do this. So crazy. I think by the end of it, after I got all my swear words out, I started to kind of figure the whole thing out, but proficient at it, I am not. Crazy. All right, end of Tuesday, I managed to get the front bent, one of the timbers for that milled up, or have the frame redone, or the joiner redone on it. It's got a 4-inch tenon on it, offset for the end of the house. It's about, what is that? That's about a little over 9 feet. And then I started this one here is cut to length, and I started the layout for it. That one's a little over 12 feet long, and that's for the back of the house. So this piece here will go into the Douglas fir that we raised a couple weeks ago, and then the top will go into the Douglas fir ridge beam. Kind of starting to lay out the shop here for the next 2 weeks of timber framing. Here's a bunch of the timbers. These are mostly 8x8s. These are going to be used for other parts of the front of the house, the bent for the front of the house, as well as the deck and some timbers for the basement and stuff like that. This week I am on my own, so I'm going to get some of the stuff for the basement done. I'm going to finish up some of these longer ones. And then next week, Jessica is taking a week off of her day job, and she's going to come out, and between the two of us, we're gonna finish up the timbers we need to get this whole frame up. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. Stay tuned for that. Hi guys. So today is Thursday. Kind of been timber framing, doing some other projects. I've got a few posts done, and then the horrible happened. So I'm always really, really good when I'm not using a chisel. I set it down. I put the sheath on it. I set it down. I never leave chisels sitting on the beam. Well, it happened. So I was chiseling this edge, and I use this square when I chisel to keep the chisel up and down straight, so this is a nice clean edge. And this started to fall, so I went to grab that and relax my grip on my beautiful, like, 2-inch chisel, and it started to fall. And I started to reach for it, but then I thought, wow, that's razor sharp. I really shouldn't just go and grab that. So I let it go, and it bounced, and it chipped the edge out of my chisel when it hit the concrete. So now, instead of finishing up this beam today, I have to spend, oh my God, hours, bring that edge back. So I'm not really excited about that. But I really like the chisel, and it's the only 2-inch we have, and I really don't have any other choice. So it looks like I'm going to spend the rest of today sharpening this chisel again.
I think this is going to be so easy.
That's not what we want to hear, baby.
I know. Feeling weird.
Hey guys, today is Wednesday, just beginning of July. We have been, Jessica and I have been timber framing for, well, I've been at it for a week and a half, technically 2 weeks, but last week we didn't, there was a lot of distractions with end of school and graduations and all that. But this week, that's all we've been working on. We have the second bent going up on Saturday. And then the following Monday, we're supposed to get everything else up. Well, the rest of the structural timber frame, there's still the porch and all that kind of stuff, but that can be done later. We still have to get some timbers milled. Anyway, I am in the basement of the house. Sorry, it's a little darker in here. I'm in the basement of the house. This is where we stored our Douglas fir last year when they came in. So this beam here is, when it's all done, it's going to be 35 inches long. Or sorry, 35 feet long. It has there'll be a mortise back there to hold a post, a big 8x10 post. And then right around here, there is another, an 8x8 post. For the second floor. So what I'm working on right now is the scarf joint. So there's another one of these posts right at the bottom of the pile there. That one's a little bit shorter, but basically when the two are joined together, it's about 56 feet long. So this is a scarf joint here. It's 3 feet long from that point to that point. And you can see, it's hard to see the pencil line, but it starts right here, and then it goes down on an angle all the way to just 2 inches above the bottom of the board, or bottom of the timber. And there's a little bit of a drop here, almost a 2-inch drop. So it'll go like this. It drops down 1 7/8 inches. It goes up to here, and then it climbs up 1 7/8 inches. There's that 2 inches there. Crap, now I don't remember. Yeah, so 2 inches there, 1 7/8 there. Weird, I'm not sure why. Anyway, so I've got it laid out. I've got it laid out on this big hunk of wood here. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm terrified now. I've got to cut into this beautiful, beautiful, heavy, expensive timber. And you can't screw it up. That's the big thing now. It's just regular timber framing, you know. It's going to take it slow, you know, little by little, piece by piece, and it's all going to be good. But it's a little overwhelming at this point. I had to cut this square. I had to cut this end square. It's not cut to length yet. There still has to be, I forget how much cut off of the end there. But I'm not too worried about that. Cutting it square was a challenge. So this big beam saw that we have here, it will cut, it's a 16 and 5/16 blade. So it cuts just over 8 inches down. This post is 12 inches across and 16 inches deep. Our Japanese pull saw, it can only do so much. It can, like this depth here from, the 16-inch angle there, it can't cut through that. It's not that long. So it was a bit of a challenge as to how to cut it. I could have flipped this on the side and got that saw down 8 inches of the 12, but then I wasn't sure how I'd cut the rest. I could have gone in from both angles. That might have worked. But what I ended up doing was I cut 8 and whatever inches down with the skill saw, and then I completed the cut like I would with any other one. I took the Zorn and I cut on an angle from that point back to there, went to the other side and did the same thing. It actually came out really square. There is a little bit of an issue in the square. Let me put this here. There's a little tiny issue in the square. I don't know if you can see in there. There's a gap of about 1/8 of an inch that goes down to about the 4-inch mark. So I was going to recut it, but then I realized the bottom of the post here, the bottom of the beam is perfectly, it's square all the way up to that 4-inch mark. And since all I actually need is the bottom 2 inches of this flat edge, I'm not going to redo that. It took me half an hour to cut through it. So I think we're good to go. We have to make a series of cuts through this timber to be able to chisel it away. Again, I don't have a saw that's going to cut that deep. And to do 7 or 8 of those cuts with the Zorn, that seems labor intensive and ridiculous. So I think what I'm actually going to do, and it makes me a little bit nervous, I'm going to use the saw up on this part. I'll start with the little skill saw like we do on every other beam. Then I'll move over to the big beam saw. But once I get past that 8-inch, the 8-inch depth, and that won't cut it anymore, I actually am contemplating pulling out my chainsaw and doing the same thing. I'm just going to do cuts down to a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Normally we try to stop 1/4 of an inch before the line, but just because chainsaws aren't really fine woodworking tools, I think I'm going to stop a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll finish it up with the Zorn. But that's the plan. I hope it goes well.
Sunday morning with my head on your chest, wearing your shirt like my party dress. Something about the way you're holding me tight lets me know everything's alright. We don't have anywhere to be. Right here we got all we need. Lock the door and try the blinds. Let's just stay here.
So after a day of timber framing, what we learned today is Douglas fir is much harder than pine. It really beat the heck out of our chisels. So it's the end of the day.
Just keep sharpening. Just
Yeah.
keep sharpening.
It's the end of the day, and we decided that it was time to give the chisels some love.
Love your chisel.
So after about an hour, maybe we'll have another sharp chisel for tomorrow.
Good
Well,
thing it's
and-
only like 30 degrees with the humidity. You feel like
Yeah.
42.
Yeah, the hottest time. But I mean, we're sun lovers, but not great timber
Don't talk
framing.
bad about it.
Not
Yeah.
great timber framing weather. By like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're just exhausted from the
We're
heat.
not complaining.
No.
There was snow.
No, we didn't
in
have to shovel
April.
it. Yeah, we didn't have to shovel it. So
There was snow in April.
yeah, and the barn keeps it nice and cool, but you just don't seem to work as long during the day.
Been broken, beaten down. Tasted dirt as I hit the ground. You were there through it all. How far you gonna go before you know what you should have known?